If you look at the history of the world, there are certain individuals who seem to operate with a different operating system than the rest of us. They don't just navigate reality, they bend it. Napoleon Bonaparte is the ultimate example of this. He wasn't religious in the traditional sense, but he was deeply spiritual about one thing: himself. He frequently spoke of his star, a guiding celestial force that he believed protected him from bullets and ensured his victory. This wasn't a metaphor. When his generals warned him of danger, he would point to the sky and ask, "Do you see the star?" When they said no, he would reply, "I do." This is the man of destiny complex. It is a psychological state of absolute, unshakable conviction that you are chosen by fate to achieve greatness. To the modern psychologist, this looks like narcissism or delusion. But to the historian, it looks like a superpower. Because Napoleon believed he couldn't lose, he took risks that terrified his enemies. He marched armies over the Alps in winter. He fought outnumbered. He acted with a speed and ferocity that paralyzed the old kings of Europe because they were fighting a man who believed he was writing the script of history in real time. The birth of this myth happened in 1796 at the Battle of Arcole. The French army was stalled. They needed to cross a bridge that was being swept by Austrian cannon fire. It was a suicide mission. The soldiers refused to move. Napoleon, then just a young general, didn't shout orders from the back. He grabbed a flag, jumped off his horse, and ran onto the bridge alone, into the hail of grape shot. Men were dying all around him. By all laws of probability, he should have been shredded. But he wasn't. He stood there, waving the flag, untouched. His aide-de-camp was killed shielding him, but Napoleon didn't get a scratch. This moment crystallized his psychology. He walked away from that bridge believing that he was bulletproof. When a leader believes he cannot die, that belief transmits to his men. The French soldiers saw him on that bridge and realized they were following something supernatural. They didn't just follow his orders, they worshipped his luck. This teaches us that the highest form of leadership is not management, it is the embodiment of the mission. You cannot ask people to believe in a future you are afraid to walk into. The apex of this complex occurred in 1804. Napoleon decided to become emperor. In the tradition of Europe for 1,000 years, the Pope was the one who crowned the king. It symbolized that the king's power came from God, and the Pope was the conduit. Napoleon invited the Pope to Notre Dame. The Pope prepared to place the crown on Napoleon's head. But at the last second, Napoleon reached out, took the crown from the Pope's hands, turned his back on the church, and placed it on his own head. The symbolism was violent and clear. I did not receive this power from God. I took it. This is the self-made deity. It was an act of supreme arrogance, but also supreme honesty. Napoleon understood that in the modern world, power is not given, it is seized. He was declaring that his authority came from his own competence, his own will, and his own sword. It was the ultimate rejection of the divine right of kings and the inauguration of the divine right of talent. But the man of destiny complex has a fatal flaw. When you believe you are chosen by the universe, you eventually stop listening to reality. You start to believe that the laws of physics will bend for you. In 1812, Napoleon decided to invade Russia. His advisors told him it was madness. They told him about the logistics, the distance, and the winter. Napoleon ignored them. He believed his star would keep the weather warm. He marched 600,000 men into the Russian vastness. He won the battles, but he couldn't beat the geography. When winter arrived, his star went dark. Temperatures dropped to -30 degrees. Horses froze solid while standing up. Men resorted to cannibalism. The man of destiny was forced to retreat, leaving 500,000 dead men in the snow. This is the tragic end of the complex. Nature does not care about your ego. A blizzard does not respect a crown. Napoleon's fall teaches us that while self-belief is the fuel of greatness, humility is the brake system. If you have a Ferrari engine but no brakes, you will set a speed record, but you will inevitably crash. Napoleon spent his final years in exile on a damp rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, staring at the waves. The man who owned Europe now owned nothing but a small garden. Yet, even there, he wrote his memoirs, cementing his legend. So, what is the lesson for us? We need a microdose of the Napoleon complex. Most of us suffer from imposter syndrome. We think we are not good enough. Napoleon suffered from the opposite. To achieve anything great, to start a business, to write a book, to change your life, you need a little bit of that irrational star. You need to believe, just for a moment, that you are destined to succeed, even when the data says you will fail. But you must never forget the snows of Russia. Believe in your destiny, yes, but bring a warm coat,